Hey freaks, it's JJ. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I talk about rock and metal concept albums and how music and storytelling go hand in hand. So today, I'm sorry it's taken me so long to do this video, but I'm finally getting to Ayreon's Universal Migrator Part 2, Fly to the Migrator. So, I was waiting for this comic book to come out because I did the first video before I knew that this was going to be a thing. But yes, they just recently released this and I just got it like a couple weeks ago, so I'm very excited to be sharing the Part 2 story, and I'll have pictures of this beautiful graphic novel in there as well. One of the cool things about this is that all the dialogue and everything is all like straight lyrics from the albums, so I thought that was a cool touch. You don't often see that. It's strictly lyrics from the music, so I thought that was cool and unique, and it's very well done, and it definitely gives you a better understanding of the story. So I will link this comic book down in the description if there are any left. I don't know if there are, but hopefully there are if you want to buy this. Also, I ordered some Ayreon coffee while I was at it as well, so I will be trying this out and reviewing it on this channel at some point, but I kind of want to wait until my Cannibal Corpse coffee comes in the mail, because I also pre-ordered the Cannibal Corpse coffee, and I kind of wanted to try them both together at the same time. So yes, that will be sometime in the future. Anyway, let's dive into part 2 of the Universal Migrator. So if you haven't watched my part 1 video, you might want to do that now, otherwise you might be a little bit lost, or if it's just been a while since you touched on that story, I will link that here and down in the description as well. I also covered the Final Experiment and Into the Electric Castle if you also want to get caught up on more Ayreon universe lore and storyline, because it all kind of weaves together, so I'll put that playlist at the end of this video too if you're interested in that. So this part of the album just picks up right where we left off with part 1. So we have the colonist who is just waking up inside the dream sequencer on Mars in the year 2112. So we start with track 1, Chaos. The colonist is pretty determined to continue with the dream sequencer journey that he's on, and he wants to travel even farther back than he's already been. So if you recall, he was already gone all the way back to like the first man on Earth, but he wants to go even farther back. And so a warning pops up within the dream sequencer that's like, hey, no one's ever gone back this far in the dream sequencer, and it's incredibly dangerous and risky if you go all the way back this far. So he accepts the risks and begins to travel all the way back to a time before the Big Bang. So we get to track 2, Dawn of a Million Souls. So just before the Big Bang, there's pretty much nothing in the universe. The universe has not been like exploded and created yet. So there seems to be nothing, but at the instant of the Big Bang, the colonist discovers a single being, and this being in the comic is kind of depicted as this sort of like phoenix shining with magnificent power and everything. It's very like ethereal and very cool, like celestial entity. And so this being is the very first soul in the universe, and it is the first instance of life, and it is called the Universal Migrator. And so at the time of the Big Bang, the Migrator fractures and divides into millions upon millions of different souls. So the force of the Big Bang helps the Migrator to kind of propel its various iterations out into the universe to seek planets to begin life on. So the colonist follows one of these iterations on this vast and incredible journey that is about to come. Track 3, Journey on the Waves of Time. So the colonist desires to go all the way to where his home planet was first created, so he wants to find Earth. And so he follows the Migrator through the primordial universe, constantly, in awe of everything that he sees, and he soon comes to realize, though, that if he wants to travel all the way back to his home planet, he will have to cross through a black hole and other cosmic obstacles in order to get there. But he's not deterred by this, so he happily just kind of plunges on with the journey. Track 4, To the Quasar. So the colonist follows the Migrator to a star in the Taurus constellation, and this star is dying. So I don't know if you know much about like astronomy and stuff like that, but basically when a star dies, and if it's like a supermassive star, when it dies it kind of explodes into this supernova, and then it collapses into itself. The death of a supermassive star can sometimes create a black hole, but this star that he's witnessing is not quite big enough to create a black hole. It just turns into a neutron star. But still, the colonist gets kind of distracted, on his way to search for the black hole that will take him to his home planet when he sees the star dying. And so the colonist watches the star die, and in reality this would be over the course of like millions of years. But for the colonist, he has time to take a look at it. And as he's watching this star die, he kind of learns that even in the primordial universe, death still occurs, and that is the constant throughout the universe. But anyway, the colonist still needs to get to the black hole, and so in order to get to Earth, he follows the Migrator to Quasar 3C273, which is a quasar in the Virgo constellation. And so a quasar, if you don't know, I kind of had to look this up because it's been a while since I took my astronomy class in college, but a quasar is basically this bright luminescent formation in space that emits like huge amounts of energy because it's at its center is a supermassive black hole that feeds on the gas of the galaxy surrounding it. And so the colonist approaches the quasar and is immediately pulled into its center by the force of its gravity. Track 5, into the black hole. So the colonist is sucked into this black hole, and then all of a sudden everything is dark and empty. He can't find the universal migrator that he's been following. Everything is just empty and vast and black. And so he begins to grow pretty fearful that the vast endlessness of it all. And he also begins to hear what he interprets as voices. He's not sure if these are actually real voices or if it's just his mind playing on his fear, but he begins to believe that the black hole is filled with these tortured souls. And soon the tortured souls will take over and he will become one of them as well if he doesn't get out of this black hole. So, just when he thinks all is lost and he's going to be trapped and devoured by the darkness, he's suddenly sucked through the end of what looks like a tunnel. Track 6, through the wormhole. So the colonist pops out of the endlessness of the black hole and he finds the migrator at his side. And together they travel faster than light through what looks like a wormhole. As they travel, reality begins to warp as they go barreling through this wormhole that will supposedly bring them to Earth. But the colonist is not quite sure if that's actually what his destination is going to be. Track 7, out of the white hole. So together they pop out of the wormhole and they arrive at galaxy M31, which is also known as the Andromeda Galaxy. And here they arrive at the star of Syrah, and the colonist spots a blue planet that looks a lot like his home planet. So they travel to this blue planet, which is called Planet Y. So here's a big section of foreshadowing for what is to come in the next few albums. But anyway, they arrive at this Planet Y, and they find it is populated with the corpse of machines. And so it appears the planet was inhabited by these machine-like beings, but all is silent, and the machines appear to be long dead. One of the dead machines, however, has this echoing call that repeats over and over and over again, and it basically says, "Forever, remember forever." So, if you recall, back when I talked about the story for Into the Electric Castle, you might remember the character of Forever of the Stars. And so, that character of Forever of the Stars was a being from the future in which the beings on his planet had evolved to where all emotions had been bred out of his race. This is basically a big setup that calls to both the past and the future albums that we'll see in the Ayreon universe. Anyway, I thought this was really cool because couple of my favorite Ayreon albums are yet to come, and it's really awesome to see all this backstory and foreshadowing in this album that he wouldn't expand on till years later. But I love this track. It's really exciting, and I love the depictions here in the graphic novel as well. But anyway, the colonist sees that this is not his home planet, so he is still determined to go find Earth, so he kind of moves on from Planet Y. Track 8, to the solar system. So the colonist finally arrives at his own solar system. He sees Saturn and goes by the rings, and then he finally sees planet Earth, and he reaches out for it, but just at that time the dream sequencer begins to glitch. The core processor of the sequencer is overloaded, and the sequencer tells the colonist that he must eject himself from the dream in order to return to consciousness. However, the colonist is unable to wake himself up, and so he ends up dying in the dream sequencer. And that brings us to our 9th and final track, The New Migrator. Somewhere in the kind of vastness of the endless universe, the universal migrator speaks for the first time, and it urges the sleeper to awake. And so the sleeper ends up being the colonist, and his spirit awakes at the migrator's prompting. And the colonist learns that his body has died back on Mars in the dream sequencer, however his spirit lives on. So the colonist's spirit wakes, and he finds he has a new kind of celestial form. And it turns out he has been bestowed with his immense power that actually turns him into the new universal migrator. And so the old migrator leaves the colonist near Planet Y and says that his spirit will join him in time. And here is where the story ends, and we are perfectly set up for some of the future installments in the canon of the Ayreon universe. So I really loved this second half of the album, and I feel like the first half of the album was a lot of backstory, getting to understand the character and his motivations and why he wants to seek Earth so badly. But I feel like a lot more of the action happens in the second half of the story. So So yeah, I'm really excited to move on to the next Ayreon album sometime in the future. I don't know when that will be, but yeah, I love this comic book. Grab one while you can. I don't know how many they printed or how long these will be available. Might make a good Christmas present. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing the research for this album because it was mostly just reading comic books, which is always fun. But yeah, let me know what you think of this concept album. Let me know what you think of the Ayreon universe, and which Ayreon album is your favorite. My favorite albums are yet to come, so I'm looking forward to doing those. If you want me to do some of those Ayreon albums a little bit sooner, please drop that down in the comments. Let me know how excited you are for me to do them, and I'm sorry I've taken so long to do this video. Yeah, stay tuned for when I do my review of the Ayreon coffee. Excited to try that out. And yeah, if you haven't hit subscribe, make sure you do that so that you can get notified when I put out other Ayreon universe content. And yeah, feel free to join my Metalhead community if you want to get bonus content and a monthly newsletter from me. And I recently just uploaded a video of bloopers to my exclusive Metalhead community. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you're having a happy end of the year. I probably will do one more video this month, and then I'm going to take a break because I have family going on and, you know, Christmas time stuff. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.